We're joined by Senator Tom Cotton. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Kevin, I apologize. I was busily negotiating for a new immigration bill with Democrats on the line.
And how did it go?
It went well. You know, Kevin, there are plenty of reasonable Democrats in Congress who recognize that the president had to do what he did a couple weeks ago on unwinding President Obama's unlawful deferred action program for illegal immigrants who came to this country as children through no fault of their own, and that what we need is a measured, targeted, incremental approach to solve that problem while also controlling for its side effects, which is encouraging more illegal immigration with young kids, which is very dangerous and tragic, and also creating a new category of chain migration for the people we give legal status to. This is still preliminary, but the president called me last week. He asked me to sit down with these Democrats and start the negotiations on his behalf. And David Perdue's the co-sponsor of my legislation, and I are happy to do that.
You were appearing on NBC's Meet the Press this past weekend. You didn't seem very happy, at least from what I took there, about the president's position on the DACA program. And I'm curious also, too, Senator, why the focus on your part so much on immigration? And from an Arkansas perspective, I've watched the town halls and not much concern from Arkansas constituents about this. Or am I missing something here?
So the president was put in a difficult position with this deferred action program. President Obama plainly exceeded his authority. In fact, President Obama said a year before he implemented that program that he lacked authority to do it. He only did so in the summer of 2012 because he thought it would benefit his reelection. The president was facing a lawsuit by several state attorneys general, including ours, Leslie Rutledge, and he probably would have lost that lawsuit. So those 700,000 people would have had the rug pulled out from underneath them. So he took what I believe was a prudent, measured step of saying we have to unwind the program. It has no lawful basis. However, we're going to give Congress 6 months to strike a solution, not try to do everything under the sun when it comes to immigration, but solve this particular problem in front of us and control for its side effects. And why am I engaged on this immigration issue? Well, immigration is more than just any issue. It touches on so many other things that Arkansans care about, on economic growth, on jobs and wages, on security, on questions of community and identity. And I get feedback all the time whenever I see Arkansans, when we have conversations about the impact that mass immigration over the last 50 years has had on working class jobs and wages. I mean, it's not a coincidence that our country has added 60 million people since the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act, who came to this country without any reason based on their employment or job skills or education or what have you. And at the same time, people with a high school degree or less have seen their wages fall. Arkansas is a hardworking state. We have a lot of people who work on their hands and work with their feet, and they've seen their wages undercut and some of their jobs taken. And it's time that we have a good immigration policy that serves the interests of America's workers.
Kevin Miller with Senator Tom Cotton, News Radio 102.9 KARN. President Trump speaking to the UN. Your thoughts about what he needs to say there?
I assume that he's going to highlight the need for the UN to get its own house in order after many years of scandals and mismanagement and misplaced priorities. He'll also focus on the need to confront North Korea. The UN has taken some positive steps, although China and Russia, but especially China, has caused the United Nations to water down some of the sanctions they recently imposed. But that's a global problem. It's not just a problem for the United States and South Korea and Japan. He'll also, I assume, talk about Iran because Iran is on the same path that North Korea was 20 years ago. And we've seen what happens when a country that's at the edge of the world, that is deeply isolated, gets nuclear weapons. Imagine what would happen if Iran, a country that's 4 times the size of North Korea, that is very aggressive throughout not just the Middle East, but the entire world in supporting terrorism and propping up anti-American proxies, to include some governments, got a hold of nuclear weapons in just a matter of 5 or 10 years.
Senator Tom Cotton, more to talk about, but not enough time. Thank you for the conversation.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.